very special episode of Allie and Maddie podcast. We are here on a Saturday morning and we have a really special episode for you today. Don't forget you can keep up with us throughout the week by following us on Facebook, Instagram, Allie and Maddie, as well as on Twitter at Allie and Maddie podcast.
So, like we said last week, and going forward, we want to be more authentic in our conversations, talk about things that are close to our hearts, things that we're going through, things that we're living through, that sort of fun jazz. That said, some of the stuff might be serious, some of the stuff might be fun, but at the end of the day, don't you worry, we're still going to be our fun, silly selves as per usual, because it wouldn't be Allie and Maddie without it.
Exactly.
And along the way, we'll get to learn more things and you'll get to learn more things. So it's going to be fun. And we had a script written for this and I made it sound less as an educational talk this time around during rehearsal. So check mark for that.
That's why we have rehearsals. We're real pros.
We are.
So I have some exciting stuff. So today we're going to jump into this week's topic. We're going to be talking about stress relief, especially stress relief after COVID. I know for me, recently this past week, I was finally confirmed ADHD. So now stress is going to be a new thing for me and managing it is going to be a new thing. So I'm excited about today's episode because there's some things that I've been using all week that have been helpful.
Awesome. For me, stress comes from all sorts of different things, both that are in my control and out of my control, where there's work stress, home stress, just being an adult stress, because that's real. That's a real struggle right there. But then, there are times when I'm just stressed or anxious for no reason at all. And it's either because, as I've said in previous episodes, I'm bipolar and borderline personality. So it's either I'm super manic or super depressed and it just builds in. And when it's those types of times, I have no control over it. It's just chemical makeup and I got to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I have realized over the years that I like to think that I'm super good at managing stress. The older I get, I'm not. I'm not at all. I'm not good at handling stress at all. But that being said, like I said, I was diagnosed with ADHD this week. So, I mean, maybe that's why I'm not good at managing stress. But what are your go-to things? What are you doing right now since COVID started or before COVID started to manage your stress?
For me, stress relief has always, my go-to, and what reigns supreme is sleep. I just find that if I get to a point where the stress is too much or the anxiety is too much, if I go to sleep, it helps. It's as if my brain resets during my sleep. So I'm able to better handle the stress. But when I'm super stressed, I can't sleep. So that time when I finally get to sleep, it is the ultimate stress relief for me. And that's, pre and post and during pandemic, it's always going to be sleep. But before the pandemic, I started going to the gym, which was really nice. And I found that it was really starting to help me. And again, it helped with the sleeping and all that fun jazz. During the pandemic, I'm finding more solace in journaling, which has been interesting. Just writing things down and it's been helping. Making very detailed checklists, legit. I sent Allie a photo of my agenda the other day and she's like, it's so color coded. And I'm like, you best believe it is.
I'm jealous. I have a stack of agendas, I will admit to that. But I actually found that I'm a visual person, super visual. So I need to have something in front of me all the time. I walk in and I see it, bam. So if you go on Amazon, you can actually get a 365-day whiteboard. I love it. That I bought. And if you're like me, I will include that link below to that because I found it super helpful. I have, like Maddie, I have all my to-dos on it, but instead of a book that I have to physically flip through, I just walk downstairs and it's literally right in front of my face.
And this is really interesting where Allie and I differ. For me to see 365 days planned out would be overwhelming and add to my stress. So for me, I like seeing it by month, but then when you flip the page, it's just the week. that calms my nerves. But for Allie, it works for her with the 365, which like right now my anxiety is a little bit like, whew, whew.
Well, like okay, so my brain has always been like this weird it's 10:30, which means it's almost 10:45, which means it's almost 11, which means
Yeah.
da 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 da. Watching TikTok, apparently that's a heavy ADHD trait. So my brain still works like that day wise too. I'm like, it's Monday,
Yeah.
which means it's basically Friday, which means it's Saturday, and my whole
Which
week
means
is
it's
ruined.
next Monday.
The month's over. Like, I might as well put my Christmas tree up.
And that's the thing. We all have different ways of coping with stress. Like the other thing that I do, and I'm sure Allie you do as well, is cuddling your pets.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That is instant stress relief. Just looking into their loving eyes, and you're like, okay, nothing is wrong in the world because I have your love. It's fine. All right. So I talked about my kind of go-to stress relief stuff. What about you, Allie? What do you do?
Definitely sleep. I would have to agree. Sleep is definitely important to me, but I definitely find that I de-stress through self-care mostly. Some people may not agree with me, but I like to reorganize and decorate my house. I love that. It brings me so much joy. Talking about how people are different. Garrett will be like, "Why are you making a mess?" And I'm like, I'm cleaning.
He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it.
Yeah, I'm cleaning. But on the same hand, laundry is a perfect example. So I like to do laundry. It's something that's very relaxing for me. I love the smell of it. I like putting the stuff in the washing machine. It's a self-care thing for me. Garrett and I do laundry very differently. I will put a load in the wash, and then when it's done, I'll put it in the dryer. I will put another load in the wash. When that load in the dryer is done, I will take it and I will go fold it, put it away, and then move the stuff from the wash to the dryer, put another load in. Garrett does all of the laundry and then folds it and puts it away.
Yes. So Peter does the same thing. The different, okay, so Peter does the laundry, I do the putting away, but they come up all together and I'm just overwhelmed. So I hate laundry.
Yeah, and I'm like, what takes an afternoon now takes me a week and a half because I'm exhausted halfway through. And
yeah, what do you mean this is another t-shirt I have? I have too many clothes. Like, burn it.
Yeah, no, we did a purge. Like, definitely, I was like, no, that goes back to the decluttering and organizing. I was like, we don't wear any of these.
Yeah.
But I also like to do a hair stuff. So with COVID and not being able to go get a haircut, split ends are real.
Yeah, that struggle. Yep.
Yeah, so I found hair masks and different I like these Pantene hair shots. They're called, and they're little like gold bottles.
Okay.
My hair is so silky smooth, like I love it. But
shout out to Pantene.
Shout out to Pantene. But I also really love argan oil too, because that just keeps your hair nice regularly. And I finally caved and adulted and got some leave-in conditioner.
I caved and adulted. Welcome to adulthood. How do you know it's adulthood? Leave-in conditioner.
Leave-in conditioner. Also, as I mentioned before, I love being outside. I like to be by the pool, barbecue, or simply just walking the dogs. We just like to be outside. And music, always music.
Always music.
It's in my soul. I've really enjoyed watching music videos lately.
I definitely agree with you with the home decorating, cleaning thing. When I'm super stressed, Peter knows because like that kitchen is spotless before he's even up out of bed. Like we're talking, you can eat off anything in that, like the floor, the dog food area, anywhere. Like it is clean, spotless. Same with the rest of the house. And I just get in this mission that everything needs to be absolutely spotless. Suddenly I'm like, you know what, we're gonna paint the front door, let's go get the paint, and we're doing it. And you know, then we're also gonna go paint downstairs in the basement, we're gonna go paint this, we're gonna do that, the other. So yeah, but there is a stress relief to that because you're using your hands, you're being creative, you're mentally I don't know. I completely agree with you on that.
You feel accomplished, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
In terms of the self-care thing, I have to say I'm still trying to get used to it. I have this guilt. Whenever I try to do the self-care, take the me time, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Don't get me wrong. It also plays into the fact that I never thought I was worthy of having like that me time. I should always be busy doing something that was productive versus something which is still productive and it's helping my mental health, but it's been a bit of a hurdle to get to that point. So I love that you have self-care on your list, and it's something I'm working on. So I'm definitely going to come to you for tips.
Yeah, definitely. Like like the one thing is that you and we both have this in common. We're people pleasers. So we think that we find joy from making other people happy, but we don't realize that that is not the case.
We bring joy to them while we're like,
but it's definitely worth putting yourself first because you are important. Especially when you are stressed. But what about you guys? Like our viewers or listeners, what are you guys doing to keep yourselves sane through all of this? I know I was saying to Maddie that during, in Ontario, I don't know if it's Canada wide or Ontario, but during COVID, there was a stress. During all of this, there's been a mental health line that's been accessible. I've had to use it just because I was going a little stir crazy. What have you guys done? What did you do to de-stress? What are you currently doing to de-stress? You can tell us on Facebook, Allie and Maddie, Instagram, Allie and Maddie, or on Twitter at Allie and Maddie Podcast.
Now, to show how professional we are, as Ali alluded to earlier in this episode, we did research because we're not professionals. We're professionals in other areas, but we're not professionals when it comes to stress relief and that sort of thing. So we wanted to make sure that we knew exactly what we were chatting about, what we were doing, and to provide you with some additional insights and what everything is about when it comes to stress relief. So did you know, Ali, that according to the 2018 Statistics Canada survey on perceived life stress, 21% of Canadians ages 12 and up perceived life stress as quite a bit or extremely stressful on most days.
Why are 12-year-olds stressed?
They've got. I couldn't imagine being a 12-year-old in today's day and age with social media.
No, neither could I.
So I get it. I think I get it. Like I couldn't do it.
No.
When broken down by age groups, 22.4% of people ages 18 to 34 felt this way, and that number jumps to 29.4% of Canadians between the ages of 35 and 49. Me being at that cusp, it just seems like it's going to get worse. Because I am turning 34 in October, and I'm like, all right, so I'm going to, it just seems like life's going to get more stressful.
I was going to ask Eric because he's going to be 35 this year. But I figured I wouldn't add to his stress.
So we just avoided it. But I think those numbers perhaps are probably even greater than what is being reported. Just based on the people I know and, what we talk about, I think and especially I'm curious to see what these numbers would look like during, if they were taken during COVID.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they're going to look like if they do this, if they release the same study next year, which I think they probably should, because this is absolutely unprecedented. Exactly. I know, especially right now with them releasing what school is going to be like, and like that's going to be our episode next week, guys, is we're going to have a guest that talks to us about going back to school with kids, because I can't imagine what there's this, we're in completely uncharted territory. Like, how long have you been working from home?
March 6th was the last day I was in the office, and then I went back for a day 2 weeks ago, and I lasted, I think, 4 hours, and it was so depressing because nobody was in the office. It was myself and like 2 other people, when usually there's about 250 of us, and it actually was so depressing. I had to go home and work. Yeah. And I find now I'm more productive at home. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've gotten into a routine. Yeah. At the beginning of COVID, not so much. It was a struggle. I'm a people person as well, aside from a people pleaser. So it was weird to be like, hey, everybody. And then nobody wanted to go on camera because they're like, oh, that means I have to brush my hair. I have to actually dress. I can't do my pajamas. And I'm like, I need to see someone, not just hear someone.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I've made it a point, a little side note, that during all my meetings at work, I'm on camera.
Yep.
Also,
Yep.
it helps me from like doing other things while people are talking in a meeting. It gives me accountability, but it's also, maybe it'll entice somebody else to go on, and then I can actually see somebody and have a more face-to-face conversation in a virtual realm.
Yep, I very much gather my energy from other people. Like I'm
Yeah.
I'm a weird introvert extrovert, so like I gather energy from other people, but sometimes I also need to be alone and relax.
Yeah.
But I need to make that decision on my own, and to have that isolation decision taken away from me was really difficult. And for the first week or so, I found myself still like getting up and getting dressed and being in routine. But as soon as Ava's daycare closed,
Yeah.
I stopped putting in any effort, like zero
Yeah.
effort. Like it was really hard. And then you have to really go back to, it's hard to be self disciplined.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that it's stressful in itself.
Yeah. But let's continue on with what is stress. So, what is stress at its core? Again, we are not the be all end all of information. We researched, and according to the Canadian the Center for Addiction and Mental Health, they say that stress is a normal response to situational pressures or demands, especially when they are perceived as threatening or dangerous. Stress is the result of the brain's chemicals, or our hormones, surging through the body. These hormones can make people sweat, breathe quicker, tense their muscles, and prepare to take action. When this happens, a person's built in alarm system, or their fight or flight response, which I'm sure we've all heard of,
Mhm.
becomes activated to protect them.
And so Cam H continues to explain that a certain I am going to read this off because I want to make sure I'm correct in it. A certain amount of stress is a normal part of daily life. There's small doses of stress help us meet deadlines, be prepared for things, be productive, like we were saying, being self-disciplined. Those are good stresses. But long-term stress can be harmful. When stress becomes overwhelming and prolonged, the risk for mental health problems and medical problems increase. They say long-term stress increases the risk of mental health problems such as anxiety and depression, which we can both attest to.
Yep.
Substance abuse problems, sleep problems, pain, muscle tension. It increases medical problems such as headaches. You get tummy troubles. You can get sick easier. You can have difficulty conceiving, high blood pressure, and you're at risk for a stroke. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Terrifying. And
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff we know, right? We hear it in the news. We hear it in, your Dr. Phil's and your Dr. Oz's, for people who watch those shows, and the
Yep.
doctors, all the doctor shows. We hear it, but I don't think, this is just my thought on this, I don't think we take it seriously enough until something bad happens.
Yeah, I think it takes something like COVID, and where everybody people don't like to talk about their mental health. It hasn't
No.
been the last, I don't know what, the last 5 years that there's been a huge focus on talking about your mental health.
Yeah.
And it isn't until everybody is experiencing something and they're like, hey, wait, what's going on, that things seem to be addressed.
And they get amplified, but at that point, it's not necessarily too little too late, but it's too late in terms of being able to provide the appropriate services that are required, because then the system becomes overloaded.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing, but also not so good thing, because the system can't handle the people finally realizing, oh, I actually, this is what's going on.
Exactly. Like I know that I'm extremely fortunate. I have an excellent family doctor who takes my mental health concerns very, very seriously. And anytime I've brought up a concern, it's always well addressed. And I know that some people don't have that luxury. So maybe
Yeah.
we should do an episode in the future about self-advocacy and stuff like that, because
Yes.
it is important to know how to stand up for yourself and how to advocate for your rights and how to have avenues. I mean, I know, for example, like when you want to help yourself and you're consciously aware that things aren't going the way that maybe they should be.
Yeah.
And you want to help yourself, it can be very discouraging because you don't know where to start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I think that's a great idea, and I'm totally on board. Let's write that down. But back to stress relief. Now, again, we're not claiming to be professionals in this realm. And again, we did a bit more research and we found some tips and tricks that can help you relieve both your stress and anxiety. There's a great article from Healthline called 16 Simple Ways to Relieve Stress and Anxiety. And we thought some of those ideas were pretty damn solid. I'm not going to lie. And some of them we use and some of them were like, interesting. So we thought we'd share with you some of the best ones, or the ones that we thought were pretty relevant and pretty, easy to do. We're not going to go through all of them, but we will share the link to this article on our social. So if you want to see the full list of 16, check it out.
Absolutely. Again, we're just going to throw a disclaimer out here. We are not medical professionals at all. We do advocate for a combination of medical help, therapy, all sorts of things. I know that I've had to self-advocate for myself. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook. Shoot us a message, a private message. Maddie and I will always talk to you. I'm always open to talk, always open to help people and give them links to our resources and things like that. Anyway, so let's kick this off with exercise. Did you know that by putting your body through physical stress, like lifting weights, walking, it can relieve your mental stress? Exercise helps reduce your stress hormones like cortisol, and it releases endorphins. To quote Elle Woods in the ever wonderful Legally Blonde, endorphins make you happy, and happy people just don't shoot their husbands, or in this case, be sad sometimes.
A little bit of extreme, but it works. It works.
I mean, like, we love Elle.
Yeah.
It can also help with your sleep and confidence, which all play a part in your mental stress. Even self-care. When you take care of yourself, you look good, you feel good.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. The next on the list is reducing your caffeine intake, which ironically at the beginning of this, I was drinking from my mug of coffee. Yeah. So being a coffee fanatic myself, and Ali, I know in the past you've been as well. This one is really hard for me. I get it. I completely understand what they're saying. Being someone who was used to, at least pre-COVID, 5 to 6 cups a day, cutting it down to right now I'm at 2. Sometimes 3. It's been torture. But I am finding that it is helping my stress level and my anxiety. So it does work. And the reason this may work for you is because high doses of caffeine can increase your anxieties or the jitters, keeping you on edge, which means that you become more stressed. So it's not even that necessarily it's something situational, but because it's such a high dose of coffee, 5, 6 cups a day, you're just always on edge. So you're always just like, what's going to happen? And your stress level gets increased.
Yep.
So journaling.
Yeah.
Journaling, right? I mentioned it before. It helps me. Healthline recommends it as well. Ali, do you journal?
I try to. I have a gratitude journal here. I have it here because I wanted to show people. It's a mindful memoir. So I was telling Maddie about this in our rehearsal this week, and it's really neat. It's got things like what I loved most about my day, things I'm grateful for. And for people who don't want to or can't commit to being on a day-to-day, you add the date in it yourself. So I love it, and that's how I try to journal, but I'm not the greatest at it.
It's a work in progress.
I try.
See, that's the thing. And that's why they don't put the dates set in there, so you don't feel stressed because you missed the day.
Yeah, exactly. But being another one, like you said, writing it down, journaling. Healthline recommends, like I said, a gratitude journal instead of writing down the things that make you stressed or upset you in a day. You write down the things that made you happy, the things that you're grateful for, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, things like that. And instead of focusing on the things that potentially can bring you down, you can focus on the things that bring you up.
Which, when I read the article, I was like, oh, okay, so I've been doing it wrong the whole time, which, jokingly added to my stress. But no, it actually makes sense. I tend to focus on what was making me stressed or anxious simply because it helped. It was trying to figure out what was triggering the stress and the anxiety, if there was a trigger. And I just found that I would just get angry
Yeah.
with journaling it. So the last couple of days since we, wrote the script and we're researching, I've actually started to do a more positive gratitude journal. That's, Ali, I've followed somewhat similar to your gratitude journal in terms of the layout. And I actually found it helped. And it's only been a few days. It puts your mindset in an entirely different realm, in that you're not looking to the negative, you're looking to the positive. And with borderline personality disorder and bipolar, you tend to look more to the negative than the positive.
Yep.
So it's a nice way to kick you in the bum and tell you, nope, think
Yep.
positively and stick to that. So yeah, I think that's a great suggestion from them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Again, you can find us on Facebook, Ali and Maddie, Twitter, Ali and Maddie Podcast, Instagram, Ali and Maddie. Some other tips they include are spending time with your friends and family. I know that has been hard through COVID, but thankfully with technology, there are methods to that, like Zoom, FaceTime, Facebook Messenger, things like that, which really allow people to connect. I do that anyways. My family's 12 hours away. So my daughter, since she was like 5 months old, has actually recognized the FaceTime. So she'll run from wherever she is in the house, which is the cutest thing. Another thing that is really important, and people may be like, this is weird, but learning to say no to things. Setting boundaries and drawing a line in the sand for your well-being is super important.
Huge,
Yeah,
huge, 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 huge.
yeah. That, like, it can even go back into the self-care category, because you need to know that you're important,
Yep.
and that other people need to know that your what is important to you is important, and that they should respect that. Doing yoga, practicing mindfulness, which we'll be doing an episode on in the near future.
Yes, we will. Another thing on the list was cuddling. So we said earlier that we cuddle our dogs, also cuddle our significant others, I'm sure. But the one that really stuck out to me was chewing gum. So chewing gum is on the list. And a study from Cardiff University showed that people who chewed gum had a greater sense of well-being and lower stress. One of the explanations is that chewing gum causes brain waves similar to those in relaxed people. Another is that chewing gum promotes blood flow to your brain. Who would have thought popping in a piece of gum would actually help with that? And then another study from Tokushima University Graduate School actually found that stress relief is the greatest when people chewed more strongly. So next time you see somebody who is aggressively chewing gum, they are relieving stress. And kudos to them for finding that method, because
All you see is people being like, do you need a hug? Like, you just see somebody like, are you okay?
yeah.
Is that all right? Again, these are just suggestions. We are not professionals. We want to hear from you and what we found has been working for you when it comes to relieving stress. There's lots of things, like we mentioned before, stress is caused by all sorts of things in your life. It's important to address it. But let us know what you're doing to relieve your stress. Let us know what works for you, what doesn't work for you. What did you try out of the list that we linked? And let us know. Follow us here on Twitch. You can follow us on Facebook, again, facebook.com/Ali and Maddie, Instagram /Ali and Maddie, or Twitter at Ali and Maddie Podcast. I get Twitter and Twitch mixed up all the time. So it's I'm guarantee you I'm going to say Twitcher at least once in this whole thing.
So far, so good. But some examples of what celebrities do, those fancy folks, to help relieve stress. So Jennifer Aniston changes up her diet. Jenna Dewan uses essential oils. Let's see. Tracy Ellis Ross practices self-care. So you got a partner there, Ali, on the self-care front. Angelina Jolie meditates. Kendall Jenner listens to music, and the list really goes on and on. It seemed, when I was going through, it seemed like every celebrity does at least one of the things that's listed on that list from Healthline. So those tips are really good. They're valuable. See what works for you, what doesn't work for you. They might all work for you, and some of them you might say like, yeah, heck no, I'm not chewing gum. Like,
yeah.
Who knows?
And there may be some things that you do for yourself that maybe may not be on the list, or you may not think that other people do. I'm always curious to see what people do to regulate themselves,
Yeah.
because it's all about being calm. Yeah. Anyway, at the end of the day, you need to do what's right for you. What makes you feel good. I always follow the belief that if you're not hurting yourself or anybody else and you're happy, then it's generally okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
If you'd like more information on stress, we'll definitely be sharing that link to the Center for Addiction and Mental Health, their whole page on stress that covers everything from signs and symptoms of stress, causes and risk factors, and diagnosis and treatment ideas.
Yep. Yep. All sorts of things. CAMH is an awesome resource, an absolutely awesome resource. So yeah, that's a wrap on today's show. We hope you guys enjoyed the new format as much as we did. We're really loving this. So we can't wait to see you again next week when we talk about back to school. Like I said, we're gonna have a guest. Her name is Lee, and she's got 4 kids. Gonna talk about going back to school. So this is gonna be a good episode for anybody who's just we want to reach all age groups. So if you are going back to school, if you're going back to high school, college, if you're sending your kids back, we know that this is a whole new world for everybody, and we know that depending on where you are geographically, there's been multiple options laid out. So we're going to talk to Lee. We're going to see what her options have been, what she's going with. But in the meantime, again, let us know what you guys are doing. Facebook.com/Ali and Maddie, Instagram.com/Ali and Maddie, and Twitter.com/Ali and Maddie podcast.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this week. We will see you next week at the usual time, 8 p.m. on Friday, not 9 a.m. on Saturday. So 8 p.m. Friday on Twitch. We will see you there. Otherwise, we'll see you Mondays for our recorded version on our socials. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Bye, guys. We love you.
Bye, everyone. Bye.